sure hope not, I said, keeping my eyes locked to the ground. We each subconsciously held our breaths as we approached the clearing. I prayed that the woman would be gone. My heart palpitated wildly in my chest, blood rushing in my ears. I clenched my eyes shut as we came into view, and there it was. A grass clearing sat before us. Daisies and dandelions swayed among the lush green blades. I peered beyond it into the trees. I suddenly grew lightheaded. She was still there. The woman's lifeless, decaying corpse hung from the rope, those horrible, unblinking eyes visible even from our distance. I felt like I was going to be sick. The cops had completely ignored my call. Without warning, Jacob took off in a dead sprint. I gave chase, my legs pumping as fast as they could carry me. We ran and ran, all the way until we'd reached the school. I didn't even need to ask Jacob why he'd done it. I couldn't focus for the remainder of the day. The hands on the clock seemed to tick by in slow motion. I couldn't stop thinking about her, those bulging, desperate eyes. I couldn't escape them. After the longest day of my life, I again found myself by Jacob's side, walking home. We didn't say anything to each other. We just kept going, dreading the encounter that we knew would come. We gradually approached the clearing. I couldn't do it. Not again. But I had to. It was like a train wreck. Something so demented and screwed up that you just can't bring yourself to look away. All right, man. I'm going to run the rest of the way. Your call if you want to come with, Jacob said, already turning away from me. Go ahead. I'll join you in a sec, I muttered, wondering if I was making the right decision. Suit yourself, Jacob retorted, averting his gaze from the field before jogging past. This was it, the last time. One more look, then I'd never peer into those woods again. I was done. That's what I told myself, at least. I steeled my resolve and quickly glanced at the tree that I'd previously seen the woman hanging from. I immediately regretted it. I bent over and lost my lunch all over the dried leaves littering the ground. Because when I glanced up at that tree, the woman wasn't alone. There was a man dangling from the branch opposite her, connected to the bough from an almost identical noose. His eyes mirrored the woman's. Two fear-struck, bloodied orbs jutting from his head, congealed, viscous liquid oozing down his neck. I couldn't take it any longer. I sprinted after Jacob and didn't stop until I reached my house. What was going on? Were the cops working with a serial killer? Even if they were, why wouldn't they at least come pick up the bodies? Fortunately, I'd never received the answer to some of those questions. Some, but not all. It didn't stop with those two. Bodies began appearing in trees at an alarming rate, and they weren't just confined to the clearing anymore. The dead were popping up everywhere. In the big oak by the library, in the maple tree in front of town hall. Hell, a dead man even showed up hanging from the beech tree on the school's front lawn. Only once was it ever anyone I recognized. I knew Kent Taylor. He was the owner of a little diner off Main Street. He was one of the nicest men I'd ever met. Needless to say, when his body appeared swinging from a rope on my walk home, I burst into tears. He didn't deserve that. None of them did. I desperately wanted to get to the bottom of the whole thing, but what could I do? No one was willing to talk about it, and the police were utterly useless. I tried to contact them multiple times, but in the end, I was given a warning for submitting a false report. So, left with seemingly no other option, I turned a blind eye. Obviously, I was terrified beyond belief, but I think we all were. Everyone seemed on edge, like we were all anticipating something that none of us wanted to acknowledge. Time marched slowly by, agonizingly so. Each day felt longer than its predecessor. Still, after what seemed like an eternity, the day finally came. Jacob's graduation. A whirlwind of emotions swirled within me as I sat and watched my classmates walk across the stage. Huge, content grins were plastered across their faces, the light in their eyes burning brightly. It should have been me up there accepting my diploma. It wasn't fair that all my peers got to escape this hellhole while I was forced to endure for another year. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. I wave as Jacob accepted his diploma from the dean. He beamed back at me, not a worry in the world. Though jealousy burned inside me like a hot iron, I managed to suppress it. I wished so badly that I could have adopted Jacob's same carefree attitude, even just for a moment. No, I'm not so sure. Once the ceremony was complete, I swam through the crowd to meet my friend. Just a quick congratulations, and I'd be on my way. No point in sticking around any longer. "Jacob, congrats, buddy," I said, clasping him on the shoulder. He reciprocated my greeting with a warm smile. "Thank you, Gray. I really appreciate you coming. I would have understood if you wanted to stay home and have to pick up crusty cow patties. Hell no, I wouldn't miss it for the world." Jacob chuckled, his grin growing even wider. Even if I was consumed by envy, that didn't make me any less proud of him. "It really does mean a lot to me, more than you know. Heck, I might even miss this place a little because of you," he quipped, drawing a smile to my own face. I lightly slugged him in the arm. "Oh, who are you kidding? You and I both know that won't happen. Remind me again, where are you running off to this summer?" "Landed an internship at Prentice Financial. I'll be going to Boston for the next couple months, remember?" Yeah, I do remember you telling me that now. Live it up for the both of us, man. And try not to forget about me, okay? It's gonna be real lonely around here without you." "Yeah, I know." "Me, forget about you. Wouldn't dream of it," he said, shooting me a wink. 2 weeks from that day, Jacob was scheduled to fly out. I didn't get to see him off, but I wished him the best. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary at first, not until he started ignoring my texts. I thought that maybe he'd just been busy with the movie. I mean, it's stressful to leave the place you've called home for your entire life and start anew. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, though. I should have listened to my gut. It was another 3 days before I found him. Dad had sent me to the corner store to pick up some salt when I happened to glance up at the trees overshadowing the old tiny rivulets of dried blood. I will never forget what I saw. My heart shattered and simultaneously began to race in my chest. Jacob, my best friend in the entire world, was strung up like a puppet, and not a single soul acknowledged him. I dropped to my knees and wept. I cried and cried, ignoring strange looks from passers-by. It wasn't right. Jacob never hurt a fly. He didn't deserve to die, not like that. I stood back up with a newfound rage bubbling within me. I was going to find out who did this to him, and I was going to make them pay. I abandoned the salt on the sidewalk. I didn't care what Dad would say. He could get his own damn salt if he needed it so badly. I continued on my warpath, straight to the only place that I knew I could find some answers: Jacob's house. I knocked furiously on the front door, anger simmering over all the while. Jacob's parents would tell me something. They had to. Jacob's mother answered the door. Her eyes were puffy and sullen, like she'd been crying for days on end. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Her only son was brutally murdered, and the police didn't give two shits about it. That extinguished my ire, just a bit. "Mrs. Allen, please, don't blow me off. I need to know who did this to him, and why." Tears began to cloud my vision. The reality of my grim discovery still hadn't fully set in. "Did what? To whom?" she replied. Her voice was defeated and hoarse. She was hiding something. "You know who. Jacob. Your son. I found his body by the corner store. Please, Mrs. Allen, please tell me who did this."
"Jacob. No, Jacob is in Boston. He's an intern. My boy is doing just fine," she replied despondently, staring into space.
"Jacob is not fine. Please, you have to." "It was nice of you to stop by, Grayson. Tell your parents we said hello." And with that, the door shut in my face. It's been 2 days since then. I have a theory, and I'm going to test it. I have to know, for Jacob's sake. I think whoever is doing this is killing anyone who tries to leave. So tonight I'm going to find out for myself if that's true. I've got a cousin who lives in a major city. She said it's okay if I crash at her place for a while. Either I'm going to get out of here, or I'm going to die trying. I'm going to take Dad's pickup truck and pray that it doesn't give out on me. I'm posting this in case I don't make it out. Please, please, please heed my warning. If you drive through a town called Walnut Valley in northern Kentucky, don't stick around. Because if you do, you might not make it out alive.